Interested to see this. I don't know if you saw it, but this week, probably America's greatest novelist, or was considered so, Philip Roth, is now under the hammer, shall we say, because of his misogyny. That's what it amounts to. Now, no one is at the moment saying he shouldn't be, his books shouldn't be published. But the fact is, he is ripe for, as they put it, a re-evaluation. Now, this is not to do obviously with hate crime, but it's all of a piece, is it not, Toby?
It is, yes. This is the charming phenomenon of posthumous cancellation. It's as though the appetite that among the witchfinder generals for finding and punishing people for heresy is so insatiable that they're not going to confine themselves to the living. They now have to morally inspect the dead, and if they possibly can, they'll punish them too. It's almost like digging someone up and sort of hanging, drawing, and quartering the corpse because they didn't suffer sufficient punishment for their heresy while they were living. And as you say, Philip Roth is the latest victim of this really unpleasant phenomenon. It's, you sort of think when something like this happens, I always think anyway, the people you're trying to cancel, the people you're singling out as heretics and punishing as best you can, are amongst the most brilliant of human beings. They are the most gifted novelists, the most talented scientists. It's almost a sort of tribute to their enemies that the people they single out as the most egregious sinners are as luminously intelligent and imaginative and as hugely, capaciously talented as Philip Roth. Who can they put up against Philip Roth? Who are the woke novelists they want to replace him with?
But I think
you'd think that. Sorry.
No. I was just going to say that it's true what you say though, Peter, because what goes on in the legislation, you kind of think, it's frightening to see what laws are coming through, but it's then the way that what I'm saying is, probably 2 or 3 months ago, the word misogyny was not widely used. It's quite extreme. Sexism, maybe.
Yes,
misogyny. Misogyny suddenly in.
Is a misogynist the same as a sexist in your language?
No, misogyny is used purposefully as the kind of hatred. Yeah. But sexism is a stronger word. It's the way that kind of racism became kind of white supremacy.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It kind of like extremifies it, it catastrophizes it. And the reason I'm saying that is because what's now happened is it is a bit like George Floyd moment, as you said, which is that, the death of one man brutally watched by us all in lockdown became a way of talking about racism in every single instance and everywhere. But now we have a situation whereby attitudes to women have all become misogyny, and now you can say in popular culture, this novelist is a misogynist and should be cancelled. And you daren't argue against that. And Philip Roth is one of my favourite novelists of all times. His attitude to women, who I don't care, because his literature and his novels are some of the most important artifacts we're ever going to have, and everybody should read Philip Roth, by the way. I don't care what he thought about anything, but of course
now more than ever. Yes.
now more than ever.
Yes.
And actually, a lot of his work will help understand now more than ever. But the point I'm saying is that word has seeped out of that kind of little group of NGO campaigners who lobby to, and MPs who've been going on and on about misogyny, hate crime. And in popular culture, most people go, "What are you talking about?" I don't know what you're talking about. But because of the Sarah Everard situation, I think then the way it became a moral panic, the way it was given massive, amplified by the media, and the fact that we're in lockdown, so this intensifies this kind of sense of kind of horror and fear and atomization. Now, everybody knows about misogyny, and you only have to label somebody a misogynist to think of Sarah Everard. And that's what happens, you only have to say institutionalized racism and white privilege, and you think of the brutal killing by the police of
gives them
somebody in America. And that's the way it works in your head. And that's the chilling effect.
But that's what they sort of want. I mean, it's almost saying, oh, well, what Philip Roth was writing about, or how he behaved towards the women in his life, there's a causal link somehow between that and the worst.
It gives them a window of opportunity as well on the far left for them to as you say, because people will say, oh, well, misogyny, and they'll associate it with Sarah Everard, and the far left know that this is the case. And so then it becomes part of this general destructiveness, like you saw that all of the protesters who descended on the Churchill statue again, and they were talking about racism, and they associate with everything to do with the police. Extinction Rebellion turn up, Black Lives Matter turn up, the Revolutionary Communist Group turn up, the anti-imperialists turn up, and they use it as this like window of opportunity for the general destructiveness, because as you say, they see misogyny and racism and all of these things as, intersectionality joins them all together, and it becomes part of this worldview, this moral panic, and this myth that they're perpetuating. And so it is, as Toby said, these people are viewed as having committed heresies. They even went for Philip Larkin, and they go for the people who either are the most innocent, because then that creates the most terror amongst normal people, because they think, well, if they could go for someone who really did nothing wrong, then they could come for me. And they go for, as Toby said, the most luminous giant figures to try and tear them down, because it's almost it goes along with their bullying approach to trying to force change in the direction that they would want it. They create this fear by trying to topple these gargantuan figures as if to show that the power that they have over the cultural change or the cultural revolution that they want.
Also, I don't think we should ever underestimate sheer good old-fashioned cultural envy. As I think Toby mentioned, absolute bringing down these this is the revenge of the mediocre.